looking, firing, intercepted, picked up by Cooper DeJean, gets a block, snap it, and it's Trey Burton who throws caught, Foles going for it all into the end zone, and it is caught. Hurts going deep, for it all, Devontae Smith, he has got it.
Yo. Let's get this. Hold on. Let me make sure. Hold on. What's happening? Run it back. What's happening, y'all? What's happening, everybody watching? Your boy is back. With brand new Eagles content. Feeling refreshed, feeling good. I'm here to tell y'all, man, it's a lot to talk about. First things first, let me tell y'all a bit about what this is. As you see at the top of the screen, AJ's Birds podcast. It's all about the Philadelphia Eagles. I did something similar a while back with AJ2K Radio, right? And now I'm back renaming it AJ's Birds, because before I was doing Lakers content too. It was the Eagles and it was the Lakers. But now I'm like, you know what, man, there's so much going on with my Birds. The Lakers are what they are. I just want to lock in on the squad. I just want to lock in on my Eagles and just talk about what's going on with them currently right now. So much going on this offseason, so much going on, you know what I mean, pre-draft, so much going on during the season. It's hard not to talk about my squad right now. So I'm dedicating a chunk of my time to solely making Eagles content. Just solely Eagles content, nothing more, nothing else. Nothing else. Now, if you want to go and hear me talk about other stuff, obviously tune into the R2O channel. Tune in to Unfazed. Me and my boy Joe Jordan, we go live once a week, and we talk about everything. We talk about the NFL. We talk about the NBA. We might talk a little UFC, a little boxing. We talk about everything there. But here, fresh Birds content is what you gonna get. Now, I'm a busy dude. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I work some crazy hours, so I'm not going to always be able to give y'all this type of format where I'm going live on YouTube or live on Twitter if I can get it to work properly. Apparently, you need a premium account for it, whatever, right? But I'm not always going to be able to do this. So I'm going to have reels for y'all. You know what I mean? I'm going to have quick little videos for y'all that I'm posting on Instagram. You know what I mean? That y'all can get to. I'll make sure I put that link up because I have a different Instagram for this specific content. So I have to put that ad up here for y'all to tune into that for my reels and things of that nature. But it's just ways to just get y'all quick Eagles content when I can't, you know what I'm saying, do this formally. I also want to do some live stuff, man, during the games. You know what I mean? I'll be wanting to get some live reaction because I'll be wilding during these games, man. And my guys been trying to talk me into, you know, going live during these games a lot more. And I've been hesitant, like, I don't know if that's what I want to do because I could be a little emotional during the game, but I realized that could also be entertaining, and I realized a lot of people can relate to your boy when he does that. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I probably do some of that. Obviously, I'll have some breaking news. So I'm doing some of everything. I'm covering some of everything Birds. And without further ado, man, I think I've spent enough time on my intro. If you haven't seen my intro video for this show, make sure you rewind and rewatch that because it's beautiful. I put it together the other day, celebrating us being two-time champions. Both championships coming in my lifetime. Yes, both of them coming in my lifetime. So it's got to be, you know, remembered and honored in my intro before I go live every time I come on to give you the guys this Birds content, man. So without further ado, man, let me jump into this Eagles content, man. What's going on this offseason? Let me see. I got a few comments in the comment section. My boy Cardo, who cares? Cowboy fan, he Cowboys fan, so y'all know how that go. You know what I mean? The Cowboys fans, they come out, they say what they say, they feel how they feel. We get it. We won the division again, you know what I mean? So, you know, they gonna hate. It is what it is. Woolen go get BBQ. We're going to talk about Woolen in a hot second. Obviously, you know, that's a big-time addition for the Philadelphia Eagles, so I'm going to talk about that in a hot second. And then we got, of course, the family, the R2L community, just giving me fire, giving me flames. You know what I'm saying? You already know what it is. What up? Appreciate you. Hope you're a Birds fan. If you are, make sure you subscribe. And like I said, I got fresh Birds content coming at you nonstop. Just know. Y'all see the hat? You know what I mean? No matter what they say about us, they can't take the ring away. They can't take the chip away. That's all I got to say. But let me get to this. Let me get to this offseason talk, man. Let me get to this offseason talk because it's been a lot of stuff going on with the Birds this offseason so far. You know what? The first thing, before I get into free agency, before I get to positions of need for the NFL draft, before I get to who we re-signed, who we signed, I'm going to just move this to the top of the list and just address this right away, man, because I know people want to hear about it. It's the Ajae Brown trade talk. It's the Ajae Brown trade talk. Now, if you watched Unfazed, you heard what I had to say about Ajae Brown recently, right? I said I'm tired of Ajae. I said I'm tired of dealing with Ajae, because I am. That's just the truth. I'm tired of dealing with Ajae. I'm tired of everything that comes with Ajae Brown. You know what I mean? All of the extra stuff, all of the, you know, how does he feel about Jalen Hurts? How does he feel about Nick Sirianni? How does he feel about this? How does he feel about that? As a fan of him, recognizing he's an all-time great for the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion, the greatest receiver to play for the Philadelphia Eagles, in my personal opinion, right? It's been fun. It's been great. But at the same time, it's become a bit too much. We dealing with, you know, does he want to be here? Does he not want to be here, right? You know what I'm saying? He go on the Patriots podcast, and he on the Patriots podcast winking like he want to be a Patriot one moment. And then you look at the body language on the field, the body language say he don't want to be in Philly, you know, and the rose-colored glasses are off of me. Because during the season, we was trying to compete for a Super Bowl. During the season, we felt like we had a chance, you know, to win the bowl. So I'm like, man, you got to keep Ajae Brown no matter what. You got to keep him no matter what. But now since the season has ended and you think about how the season went with him involved in it, how we played with him, how we played without him, I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm tired of the cat and mouse. I don't want to keep nobody in that midnight green that don't want to be in that midnight green and don't make it clear they want to be in that midnight green. And when you think about all of the star players that play for the Philadelphia Eagles, Ajae Brown is the one and only player we have to deal with this with. We don't have to deal with this with Devontae Smith. We don't have to deal with this with Saquon Barkley. We don't have to deal with this with Jalen Hurts, with Lane Johnson, with Jordan Mailata. Nobody else on this team, offense or defense, do we have to deal with someone acting the way he acts but Ajae Brown. He's the only one we have to deal with this type of stuff with. And it's frustrating. It's tiring, man. I ain't going to lie. Great player, but I feel like we could survive without him. Now, with that being said, let's be clear about something. Would I be mad if we don't trade him? Because it's looking like we're not going to trade him. All intents and purposes. And as y'all know, free agency is going on right now. Trades are happening as we speak. I got my phone up right now, and I'm watching. You know what I'm saying? I'm refreshing every chance I get, and I'm watching to see what happens as we talk. So if I get some breaking news, Eagles related, I'll be sure to break it. You know what I mean? Because like I said, there's some stuff popping up right now that I definitely want to get to. Right? But at the end of the day, you know, if the man don't want to be in Philadelphia, he don't want to be in Philadelphia. Now, again, if you're Howie Roseman, you can't trade him for nothing. I'm not going to be mad if we decide not to trade him, which is looking like we're not going to, right? The price is the price. If we want a first and a second for Ajae, we need to get a first and a second for Ajae. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. If we want a first and a second for Ajae, no, we're not going to come down to a first and a third. No, we're not going to come down to a second and a fourth. No, we're not going to come down to a second and a play. No, we want a first and a second for Ajae Brown. If you ain't got a first and a second, and if we're not able to eat some of this money, then we can't accept the deal, unfortunately. Because one thing that people are failing to realize and failing to remember about this whole Ajae Brown thing is, bruh, if we trade him before June 1st, that's a $43 million cap hit. $43 million worth of a hit against your cap that now Howie Roseman has to wiggle around in a gap in the season by which he still believes, us Eagles fans still believe we can compete for a championship. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it makes it kind of hard to move him in the first place. Makes it hard to move him in the first place. And so as an Eagles fan, I'm not going to be mad if we don't trade Ajae Brown. Do I think we should at this point? Yes, I do. But I'm not going to be mad if we don't trade Ajae Brown. And for all intents and purposes, it's looking like we're not going to trade him. Now, my question to Eagles fans and my question for A.J. Brown is, can we trust him? Can we trust him to go out on the field and give it his all in a place where he might not want to be this year? That's my ultimate question. Can we trust A.J. Brown to go out on the field and play to the best of his abilities and be the all-pro receiver we know him to be if he really don't want to be there? That I'm not sure about. I'm not sure. Can he put that aside for a full season? I'm not sure. At this point, I question it because I saw that playoff game, and that's the last thing I remember of A.J. Brown on the Philadelphia Eagles right now. So I'm not sure. But if we don't trade him, I hope so. I hope he can snap out of that and be the A.J. Brown we all know he can be and the A.J. Brown we all know him to be. Now, moving on, because I don't want to spend all day talking about A.J. This is something that the media has been talking about all off season long. Will they trade A.J.? Will they not? And quite frankly, I'm tired of talking about A.J. I ain't going to lie to you. If we trade him, we trade him. If we don't, we don't. Eagles Nation will be fine. I think we'll be okay whether we keep him or not. I think the Eagles at the moment are a better team with A.J. Brown, but that's at the moment. If we trade A.J. Brown and we replace him with the receiver, right, there's guys in the draft you can go get. I would say there's a few free agency options, but you lost out on a couple of those, right? But there's guys in the draft that you can go get. You still got Saquon Barkley. You still got Six. You still got this defense that I'm about to talk about in a second that should still be formidable, right? With Vic Fangio still calling the shots and still calling the plays. So the team will still be intact, right? It's up to the Eagles. It's up to Howie Roseman. It's up to A.J. Brown to come to the table and say, do you really want to do this or do you not? And as Eagles fans, we roll with that. We roll with that, good or bad. Now, to the offseason. A.J. Brown out of the way, and A.J. Brown probably will come up in conversation again just off the strength of some of your moves kind of depend on will A.J. stay or not. For example, if A.J.'s out the door, you obviously need it. First off, you need another receiver right now anyway, as I look at the landscape of the NFL. You need another guy anyway because Jahan Dotson is gone, so your receiver 3 is gone. I'm not sure Darius Cooper is ready to step into that role just yet. I think he can be a good player. I'm not sure he's ready to step into being that guy for us just yet at receiver 3, and damn sure not receiver 2. I'm not ready to see Darius Cooper, at receiver 2. So a lot of your moves kind of depend on that. But I just want to say, first off, shout out Jordan Davis. Big time contract extension, right? I think it's 3 years, $78 million. So shout out to Jordan Davis. We need him back in the fold. Big time run stopper. I feel like his pass rush has gotten better over the years. And I feel like last year the man had a Pro Bowl caliber season. I feel like last year he had a Pro Bowl caliber season that a lot of people kind of slept on. A lot of people kind of dismissed, right? But he balled out last year. And it's crazy he didn't make Pro Bowl or All-Pro because he was a big-time player for us, won a bunch of games for us, most notably that Rams game. I believe he blocked 2 kicks, returned the last one for a touchdown to seal the win against the Rams, in Philly. So shout out to Jordan. I'm glad he got an extension. I want to get to Jalen Carter. I don't know if my boy Kev is watching right now, but me and Kev had a back and forth. He's also an Eagles fan. The guy at the very end of my Eagles intro, if you was here in the beginning, you saw that he's the guy at the very end I'm standing next to. We was going back and forth on the Jalen Carter situation, and I'm telling him, I'm like, dude, it's no way Howie Roseman is shopping Jalen Carter. Like some stuff that like this is why I am doing this pod. This is why I'm here today. This is why on my off day I'm spending time to talk to my fellow Eagles fans. This pod ain't for everybody, and I know that. Unfazed is for everybody. AJ's Birds is for the Eagles fans and the Eagles haters. The Eagles haters at some point, they're going to chime in. We get the losing games. They're going to chime in. They're going to have something to say too. We understand. We respect all that. But it's mainly for the Birds fans. So when you hear stuff in the media, I come here to be like, yo, they tripping. One of them being, yeah, the Eagles are shopping Jalen Carter. The Eagles ain't shopping no goddamn Jalen Carter, bro. Like, Jalen Carter obviously arguably is our best defensive player. Obviously, you can throw Quinyon and Cooper DeJean in that conversation too, first-team all-pro players. But Jalen Carter is the guy who dang near makes this defense go. Without that pressure up front, getting to the passer. Without that pressure, stuffing the run. Without him in this defense, you see how we look. We are not the same defense without Jalen Carter in the lineup. Last season was a down season for Jalen Carter, right? We understand he had the shoulder situations, and that was a lot for him to overcome and deal with, especially as a defensive lineman. That's just what it is, right? But all in all, nevertheless, right, Jalen Carter is still arguably a top 2, top 3 defensive lineman in the league. In the league. There's no reason, no reason to trade Jalen Carter. And if you know anything about Howie Roseman, we know Howie Roseman isn't even the kind of guy that would shop a guy like a Jalen Carter. Like, that's not how he moves at all, right? He believes in the trenches, right? He believes in offensive line, defensive line. So at some point, and I'm refreshing every moment, right? I'm refreshing every moment, because at some point I expect to have that alert pop up. Hopefully while I'm live today, maybe not, but I'm expecting that alert to come through where it's like Jalen Carter just signed a crazy extension with the Philadelphia Eagles. Because another thing, the people that was in conversations for potentially trading for Jalen Carter, you had the Bears and the Packers and all of these, the Rams, all of these contenders in the NFC. Who the hell y'all think Howie Roseman is? I think Howie Roseman gonna trade our best defensive player, Young, hasn't even signed his first contract extension yet. We gonna let him go. We gonna trade him to a contender in the NFC. You think who do y'all think Howie Roseman is? Like that whole rumor was stupid. And when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, we get a lot of dumb rumors. We get a lot of stupid rumors. So I just want to put that to bed. One thing I do want to quickly comment on, though, is this guy right here. This guy right here, Max Crosby. Do the Philadelphia Eagles go and make a move for a guy like Max Crosby? Now, for the people that do not know what's going on with the Max Crosby situation, Max Crosby obviously was traded to the Baltimore Ravens for 2 first-round picks. And that fell through because Max Crosby did not pass his physical. Max Crosby, if I'm not mistaken, has some type of meniscus injury, some type of, I don't know if he tore it or exactly what happened with it. But essentially, Max Crosby did not finish last season, came into this offseason looking, I'm assuming, to be moved. The Raiders are looking to move him to a different team. And ultimately, they did, and it fell through because he didn't pass the physical. It's a lot of reports out there saying the Ravens just simply got cold feet, right? It's a lot of reports out there saying that, Max Crosby is not going to return to the level of player he was before injury. It's a lot of stuff circulating. What I know as an Eagles fan, though, right, now that the Ravens have moved on and signed Henderson from the Bengals, a player that we were also looking at that we did not end up getting because the Ravens ended up making a move. What I'm looking at is this could potentially be a Howie Roseman move just off the fact that now his stock is not quite the same, right? Max Crosby, 2 first-round picks, Howie wasn't going to never give you that. Because what's on the back end of that is you also got to pay Max Crosby, and we got a lot of other guys to pay. So we're not going to pay you and give up 2 firsts for you. That ain't going to happen. But now that the stock has dropped a little bit, maybe you don't got to give up 2 firsts. Maybe you just got to give up like 2 seconds or a second and a third or whatever the case may be. And that's the type of deal that Howie Roseman will jump at, right? In the case of trying to improve this defensive line that obviously needs improvement right now, right? And so I think that's something to keep your eye out on. If I'm an Eagles fan, which I am, I'm telling other Eagles fans don't count on it. Just off the simple fact that we got a lot of guys we got to re-sign. We got a lot of guys coming up. We got to re-sign Jalen Carter. We have to re-sign Cooper DeJean. We have to re-sign Quinyon Mitchell. His deal is going to be coming up soon. We also, people forgetting offensively, right? Jalen Hurts got to get extended at some point, right? Hurts got to get extended at some point. If we do move on from A.J. Brown, what does that do for Devontae Smith? Now Devontae Smith is probably going to be commanding some of those dollars that you're not allocating to A.J. Brown, right? And Devontae Smith is a guy that you want to make your bona fide number 1 receiver. So if A.J. is out the building, right, you got to give some of that money to Devontae. Maybe Devontae is now a top, let's say top 10, top 5 paid receiver in the National Football League, right? Right? And so That's why you heard Howie Roseman come out this offseason and say, you might not see us make a ton of moves in free agency. The best course of action for the Philadelphia Eagles is re-signing our own. Now, before I want to get to some other news, I also want to talk about the players that, we ultimately ended up losing. Because we did lose some guys, unfortunately, right? We did lose a few players, right? Nakobe Dean is not with us no more. I thought Nakobe Dean would have been a guy I would have been interested in keeping. It would have been cool to keep Nakobe Dean. But with us already having a stacked linebacker core, right? And you drafted a linebacker last year, your first pick in the first round. I think it was time to probably move on from Nakobe Dean, especially given the fact that Nakobe Dean also has injury issues and injury history. Like, Nakobe is a great player. Nakobe always hurt, though. And that's one thing we don't talk about enough as Eagles fans. Nakobe stay hurt. So that needs to be discussed. Now, Phillips is a guy that I wanted to bring back. I didn't want to bring it back for $120 million, though. I ain't gonna lie. I wasn't trying to bring it back for $120 million, though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been tough for me. That's a lot to lose. That's a lot to pay a guy, again, given the fact that you have to re-sign all of these other young guys. I maybe would have given him $100 million, maybe even 110, but 120 is where you got to draw the line, and I'm glad Howie Roseman did. Reed Blankenship is out of the building now, right? And so Reed Blankenship was a solid leader in his secondary. He was a solid guy that is now out of the building. And I know some Eagles fans wasn't too big on Reed Blankenship, but I've always been a pretty solid Reed Blankenship fan because I think Reed can make plays. Like, I seen Reed close games. I seen Reed get big-time interceptions, make big-time plays. I've seen Reed Blankenship do some of everything. And so make big-time tackles, force big-time turnovers, interceptions, fumbles. Like, Reed has done it all. Now, he's not the most athletic guy, but Reed's IQ is off the charts. And it wasn't too many blown coverages and busted plays with him out there holding down the defense. We lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson last season, and Reed stayed with the team and made sure we stayed afloat. So losing him this offseason, I'm not going to act like that's not a big deal, because that is a solid deal. And then you got Jahan Dotson, who I always felt, and again, as an Eagles fan, as a guy that's going to bring y'all this Eagles content as much as I possibly can, I feel as though I am obligated to tell the truth about everybody on the team, not just a few. Jahan Dotson was one of those players that I always felt like had a really high ceiling with the Philadelphia Eagles. Jahan just didn't get the opportunities that he deserved. You could blame that on the coaching staff. You could blame that on Jay Hurts. I tend to blame it a lot on Jay Hurts, honestly. Jay Hurts seems like the type of player that it takes a lot to earn his trust out there on the field unless you're a bona fide guy. And if you're not a bona fide guy, I'm going to get the football to the bona fide guys that I trust. I'm going to get the ball to Devontae Smith. I'm going to get the ball to Dallas Goedert. I'm going to get the ball to Saquon Barkley. I'm going to get the ball to A.J. Brown before I even look Jahan Dotson's way, right? When you least expect it, I'll throw the ball to Jahan Dotson. That's why I thought he had a pretty solid Super Bowl, because people are game planning for Saquon, A.J., and Devontae. Jahan Dotson is the last guy you're game planning for if you're looking to defend the Philadelphia Eagles. And so I thought personally that losing Jahan Dotson is not that big of a deal, but I thought that if we were able to utilize Jahan Dotson more, that he could have been a really good fit for us over the years. And unfortunately, we didn't utilize him the best way we should have, in my opinion. But all in all, I'm looking at the guys that we lost, and it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I know the ops want you to think it's the end of the world, but it ain't the end of the world. It's not. It's not the end of the world at all. All of the guys that we lost are replaceable. From a chemistry standpoint, it definitely hurts, for sure, especially a guy like Nakobe Dean, because Nakobe Dean was one of the Georgia Bulldogs that you drafted. And you kind of want to keep them guys together because those guys had a lot of chemistry out there on the football field, right? And so losing him out of everybody is probably the biggest deal, if I'm being honest. That's probably the hardest loss that you took. But all in all, the guys that we lost, not that big a deal. Not that big a deal. Now, the guys that you added, like I said, you re-signed Jordan Davis, right? We signed the guy Josh Minot, right? Now, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Minot, I was never a big fan of Minot. I know Minot is here for run blocking. I get it. He not here to catch the football and make plays. I understand that. I just remember his time with the Minnesota Vikings, and as a guy who lives out here in Minnesota, worked for ESPN Radio out here in Minnesota, and covered the Vikings for a small period of time on the Taxi Squad podcast. Shout out to them over there at Score. I was never a fan. I trolled him as much as I could because I just thought he was a bad player. Honestly, I didn't think he was a good player. But he can block. So I can understand why Howie Roseman brought him back or brought him into the building, because in this new offense with Sean Mannion, right, this offense that we want to run, you're going to need some good blocking tight ends. You're going to need some guys that's going to help Saquon get out to the outside and get to open space so that he can shake, bake, and make moves. So I'm not mad at that move. Low cost. It's not like you paid him $1 billion. You ain't paying much of nothing, right? Right? So 1-year deal, not too bad. Grant Calcaterra, you re-signed. I thought this was a must re-sign as well, just off the strength of Dallas Goedert may or may not be back. Now, recent reports have come out and said that the Eagles have spent the block on Dallas Goedert, and Dallas Goedert has spent the block on the Philadelphia Eagles. So Dallas Goedert might still end up being the Eagle, which I like because I never agreed with letting go of Goddard. I do understand, again, you got other people that you got to resign on offense and defense. But that is clearly one of the guys that Jay Hurts trusts. And again, I keep going back to this. If you're going to trade AJ, it's tough to lose Dotson, right, and Goddard in the same offseason. And then you got to go and replace that in free agency or the draft. That's going to be hard to do, right? And so I like the idea of potentially bringing Goddard back. Now you got 3 tight ends if you're able to re-sign Dallas Goedert to a decent deal. You got Minot, you got Grant Calcaterra coming back to the lineup. But I think the biggest move for us so far in free agency has been this move right here. It's been this move right here. Reek Woolen back. Well, not back, but is now a Philadelphia Eagle. And if you know anything about me, you know I love the cornerback position. You know I love the cornerback position. This is a position in football that I deem extremely important. Extremely important. Now, last season, we got away with things, right? Because, we had a guy out there that ain't that good. But he served us well. He played solid for us, right, in that DB2 position. All year long, I was nervous that the wheels was going to come off, though. All year long, I was nervous. Like, I don't know if this is going to work out. We tried every which way to address that position, and we couldn't necessarily address it. Coming into this offseason, this was one of the more underrated positions of need that we had. Now, we knew we was going to need a receiver. We knew that Dallas Goedert may be leaving, so you're going to need a tight end or a few. Right? We also knew that the offensive line, with Lane Johnson contemplating retirement, with Lane Dickerson contemplating retirement, is a position of need. But how the secondary played the second half of the season, and even I'd argue in the first round of the playoffs, masked the fact that we still needed a DB2. We still needed a bona fide, solidified DB2. So to go out there and agree to get Reek Woolen, and I love the move because low risk, high reward. I'm shocked that Reek Woolen fell to us 1 year, $15 million. Clearly, he went out there on the market. He's seen his value wasn't that high, right? He's seen his value wasn't where it needed to be, where he wanted it to be. So he came to Philly and said, look, man, let's come out here, give me a little prove-it deal. Come out here, try to win another championship, play ball next to Quinyon and Cooper DeJean, and make plays. And if you're Howie Roseman, that's something you sign up for on a 1-year deal. Because, again, after this season, you're looking at a Cooper DeJean extension, and you're probably looking at a Quinyon Mitchell extension, most likely in the same offseason. So, again, a move you had to make if it's right there available to you. So, I thought this was a big-time move. It's one of the bigger moves of the offseason. I'm not going to allow it to mask all of the players that we've lost. But, nevertheless, a big time move for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I must admit, man, I love it. Some other players we potentially looking at getting, man. We're looking at potentially trading for Jonathan Gennard, right? Now, as you know, we need some defensive line help. Losing Jalen Phillips, right? And you just relying on Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt to get pressure on the quarterback. Jalen Hunt was very effective last season. I think he led us in interceptions in the regular season and made big-time plays all season for us last year. So shout out to him. He's a big-time player, a lot of upside at some point later down the line. I'm sure you're going to make him a focal point of the defense by extending him, right? Nolan Smith had a great playoff run, not last year, but the year before on the way to the Super Bowl. He really blossomed towards the end of the season into the playoffs and dominated, but was not the same player this season, which is why the Eagles were really trying to re-sign Jalen Phillips. Like, that was a real thing. Missing out on him. Now, again, that's why I bring up the Max Crosby's. And now I bring up the Gennards, because you gotta get somebody now to fill that position. You gotta find somebody that could get pressure on the quarterback and that can make plays. Because as great as this secondary is, what would take this secondary to all-time levels, yes, I said all-time levels, is if you're able to get a pass rusher that can consistently get pressure on the quarterback and speed that clock up. That'll create fumbles, that'll create interceptions, that'll create 3-and-outs, that'll create PBUs. Everything you're looking for, that will create with this secondary. So the Eagles are in the market of getting a big-time defensive end, right? And so these are the names that you're looking at. Like I said, you're looking at a Max Crosby, you're looking at a Gennard. Those are the two top names on the list. They've missed out on a couple of guys. I think if this is not a position that they can make happen, they will ultimately make it happen during the draft. Now, last topic of the day, like I said, I'm not going to hold y'all for too long. It's the first episode. I want to get out of y'all here today. Listen, positions of need in the draft. Now, this is going to depend on how you fill out the rest of this free agency as a refresh and make sure I don't miss no Birds news, right? Can't forget. And I don't think I have his what's the name over here in my media. But Jaquan Brisker is a guy that you might want to look at for safety. That name has been floated out quite a bit. Playmaker, a guy that can go out there, a heavy hitter. He's not a big turnover guy. He's not going to go out there and be like CJ and get a bunch of interceptions, but he's a guy that can go out there and make plays for you as well. I would look to kick the tires on him. And I'm not going to lie. Listen, I don't know. In the Philadelphia Eagles jersey, I'm not sure if you will find a bigger CJ fan than me. I would not be mad at bringing CJ back for a third time. I don't think you should have let him go the first 2 times. So I wouldn't be mad if you bring CJ back for another year. You know what I mean? Especially given the way this landscape is, at the safety position. Sidney Brown, he didn't get a lot of tick down the stretch this season. I wonder why. Marcus Epps, are you bringing him back? I'm not mad at that either, but Marcus Epps isn't a guy that you want to lean and depend on. Obviously, Reed Blankenship is gone. What you got? What you got back there? Like, you're going to have to make a move at safety at some point. You can draft a young guy, right? But at the end of the day, you want to have some veteran presence. So whether it be Brisker, whether it be CJ, or whether it be a trade you somehow make, because I can see Howard Roseman making the move at that position. That's something that you need to think about. But that is one of the positions of need in the draft. If you don't go get a Brisker or a CJ, maybe you still make that a position of need in the draft. Not a high position, but a position of need nevertheless. I think the Eagles, more than likely, and later on, I will be doing a mock draft. We will look at the mock drafts together and see where the Eagles fall on that. But I think the Eagles more than likely go offensive line in the first round. The only way I see them not, and like I said, trading A.J. Brown shifts everything. If you trade A.J. Brown, in my opinion, if you let go of A.J. Brown in the same season by which Jahan Dotson is gone, and you're not able to re-sign Dallas Goedert, I think you have to go receiver in the first round. That's just me. I think you want the best available receiver I think we picked 22. You want the best receiver available at 22 if you end up trading A.J. Brown, in my opinion. I do hear that there are other guys you can get in the second round. I'm shooting for one in the first round, and then in the second round, I will go offensive line. Now, if you don't trade AJ Brown, which I don't believe they will at this point in time, I think you got to take care of that offensive line in the first round. You got to look and see who's going to replace Lane Johnson. You got to look and see who's going to come in for Landon Dickerson. I wouldn't be mad if we looked at centers as well. Because Juergens was terrible last year, and it is not talked about enough. I don't know how he was a Pro Bowler and Jordan Davis wasn't. He was bad. Every time Saquon got the ball, he was getting hit in the backfield. It was bad, real bad. Michael Jackson. Okay, so I would not be mad at the Philadelphia Eagles if they went and looked at getting a center, right? Wouldn't be mad at them at all, looking to go get a center in the first round, you know, to potentially, or second round, maybe not first round, but or second round to put some pressure on Juergens. But the offensive line, nevertheless, better believe, unless they trade A.J. Brown, that's probably going to be your first round pick. Second round pick, you might still go receiver, even if you don't trade AJ, because again, Dotson is not there, and I don't know how much they believe in Darius Cooper. I don't know that. Maybe they think Darius Cooper can fill in for that receiver 3 role seamlessly. You know, I don't know, but my assumption would be if there is a guy there in the second round, the Eagles will go get a receiver in the second round, even if you hold on to AJ Brown. So we're looking at offensive line, we are looking at receiver. Depending on what you do with Dallas Goedert, the fact that Dallas Goedert has not signed, and the fact that I'm seeing reports that the Eagles may still re-sign Dallas Goedert shows me that the Eagles don't have intentions on drafting a tight end in this draft, especially not early. So that just ups the importance, and the fact that you already went and got 2 tight ends, right, in free agency, re-signed one, and then got Minot as well to be a run blocking tight end, even a pass blocking tight end at times. That shows me the Eagles not looking at tight end like that in this draft, right? They are more than likely looking at the offensive line, probably safety and receiver. So that puts more emphasis on the tight end position to re-sign the tight end, to re-sign Dallas Goedert. So we got offensive line, we have receiver, we have safety, and last but not least, like I said, are we going to get Crosby? Are we going to get Gernard? Are we going to get any of those guys? If we can't get any of those guys, you got to get a defensive end. You got to get a dominant edge. Now, I'm not sure. I got to do my research on how deep this edge position is in this year's draft. I got to do my research on that. But if the edge position is deep, you might go edge in the first round. This is one of the first years in a very long time where I look at the Philadelphia Eagles and I don't know what they address. Years in the past, like in the first round, that is. Years in the past, I knew where the Eagles were going. I knew what the Eagles were going to do. You know, I think the only year that kind of shocked me was the year they drafted Q and Cooper DeJean. That was like, oh, I knew we needed DBs. I know you was going to go Q and Cooper. But at the end of the day, usually every year I kind of got a beat for what we do. Again, I think this free agency is going to tell me a lot, how this free agency concludes. And if you notice, Howie Roseman is in the cut. He chilling. How we not overpaying for nobody? He ain't making no crazy trades because, again, a lot of people to bring back, a lot of people to re-sign. So, like I said, you got offensive line, you got defensive line as far as edge rushers, depending on what you add in free agency. You got safety, okay? And I don't think they go get tight end. So you got at least 3 positions right there. You got at least 3 positions that you need to truly take a look at, and receiver 4. You got 4 positions that you need to take a look at going into this draft. And I expect the Eagles to go in an order of probably offensive line, because I think they either get a Gennard or a Max Crosby, and I think they chill on the defensive line within the first 2 rounds of the draft. So if they do that in the next coming days, you're looking at offensive line round 1. I'd say receiver round 2 unless they trade that pick away. And then I wouldn't be shocked if they go safety in the 3rd. You heard it here first on AJ's Birds podcast. That's all I have for y'all today, man. Like I said, I wasn't going to keep y'all long, man. Some of these episodes going to be long. Some of these episodes going to be short. I got this glass of wine here because I want this to be a chill I want this to be a chill pod, man. I don't want this to be a uptight pod where we come on here and I'm all tense and you all tense watching. I just want this to be a pod where I could come on, I could talk to my Eagles fans. We could relate. We could talk about what the Eagles should do, what they did do, what games they won, what games they lost, what moves they should make, which moves they shouldn't make. You know what I mean? And I just want us to be able to chill and just bond with each other and talk about what the Eagles should do, man. I want to be able to give y'all real news and things I truly believe, because there's a lot of misrepresentation out there. There's a lot of bad news out there. And I want to be the guy to give you the real, bro. I want to be the one to give you the real, because I got real sources, man. I got real people that I look to that I'm like, if bro ain't reported, I ain't trying to hear. Like, again, Jalen Carter. Few of my sources, Eagles ain't trading Jalen Carter. Well before Adam Schefter came out and said the Eagles ain't looking to trade Jalen Carter, they was like, bruh, Eagles looking to extend Jalen Carter. They're not trading Jalen. So I knew way ahead of time that was all BS. And that's why I'm here. Not to give you my sources, but to come on here and tell you what I know, man. So it's been a fun one. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. And like I said, I'm going to keep it pumping. We're going to have shows like this. We're going to have live games that we watch together as a fan base. We're going to react to free agency news. I'll probably do some sort of draft special when we draft. You know what I mean? We got a lot of stuff cooking, and we just getting started, man. So, like I said, I appreciate all y'all for tuning in. And if you didn't catch that intro, I'll roll it for you one more time in my outro. I'll catch y'all on the next episode of AJ Spurs Pod.